What is up, and welcome back to Cryptographics. I have a very special stream for you guys today planned with none other than G1 Eric, the founder of DragonX. And this is going to be a big one because DragonX is no longer just in the niche zones of the altcoin lands. It is now officially landed somewhere that officially separates it from the shitcoin pack, so to speak. So, Eric, welcome, man. Thanks for coming on. This is going to be fun. Man, tell me how you're doing and what's happening here, because this is a big moment.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. This is a big moment actually, and yeah, effectively, I've been working behind the scenes for a few months with Geco.One to see if we could work out a partnership for DragonX. Kind of a little bit of an institutional partnership here, something new, and I guess I can kind of jump into what this exactly means for DragonX and kind of the new utility that's been opened up by this partnership.
Sure. Actually, real quick, let's do one thing if you're cool with it. Just because I'm thinking if people are going to come on the stream, they're watching this for the first time, don't know what DragonX is.
Yeah.
Real quick, what is DragonX and why is this? Yeah, just maybe a quick backstory on what DragonX is so people understand like what we're talking about when we talk about the exchange and why it's important.
Yeah, for sure. So DragonX is it's a DeFi asset that is built on top of TitanX. It's a DeFi derivative asset that was launched in 2023, December 2023. And it effectively acts as a derivative on top of TitanX using staking rewards from TitanX to elevate its price above the base asset. And it's been running now flawlessly for, a year and a half, 482 days or something like that. I can't believe it's been that long, man. But yeah, it's been shown to have flawless code with several $1 million of Ethereum backing it up. And now we're kind of moving into the next phase for it. So yeah, it's effectively a DeFi asset. It has about a dozen different protocols built on top of it at this time. Half a dozen, sorry, not a dozen. Auctions, staking, Morph, which is an exchange token with Swish.Win. So there's a bunch of different utility built on top of this core secure DeFi asset, which is itself a derivative on another asset and bonded to another ecosystem, which is TitanX. Kind of a long-winded explanation, but it's a bit complicated. It's been hundreds of days of building and just adding value to the protocol.
For sure. Well, and one of my favorite things about DragonX is it's kind of like the easy button. One of the easy buttons in the ecosystem is you just buy it and you hold it, and the supply deflates. It gets ETH to buy and burn its own supply, and also pushes up the price of TitanX, as well. So it's kind of like if you're getting into the ecosystem of TitanX, DragonX is one of the tools that is a great starting point because it is a leverage play on TitanX. It has performed more or higher in terms of volatility than TitanX, obviously to the upside and the downside. So, I love it. And I think that it's important for people to understand that, it is kind of like an easy button, but it also has everything else that you mentioned that's working simultaneously in the background and now currently coming to fruition that's adding to the total, piece that people are getting involved in. So anyways, though, thanks for the explanation. So,
of course,
dude,
yeah.
Geco.One, tell me about it. How did this happen?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's been months in the making, actually. It was a mutual connection that introduced us. And I think it gelled with both parties because, Geco.One was kind of interested in expanding its user base and going into kind of DeFi applications and getting more DeFi savvy. And we were looking for some institutional backing. And I think it just fit really well with both groups' kind of priorities. So it was in March, actually, the discussion started, early March, I believe. And since then, we've kind of been hashing out the details. It takes a little bit more time when you're dealing with custodians and, devs and exchanges that need to incorporate an asset into it. But effectively, once we kind of aligned on the two things that we were looking for, like more users, more activity, more trading, and basically more DeFi functionality and kind of a foray into the DeFi world. That was kind of the point that we met on. And this initial listing is kind of like a starting point for a lot of great things that could come after. And so, yeah, the listing itself is just one part of this. So effectively, what you can do now with DragonX is you can now go long or short using DragonX as collateral on this exchange. So that means you can trade from dozens of different pairs with your DragonX and use that as collateral to go as much as 100x on some of these pairs.
Wow.
We're talking about ADA, XRP, um, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the big ones, right? Including the Geco.One token itself. And there's only a couple assets that have actually earned that place on this exchange, and DragonX is one of them now. Um, so that's really cool, and that's new functionality for DragonX, right? And now there's an institution actually holding DragonX, the first one.
Mhm.
What's also interesting for the DragonX project is that as part of this, the exchange was generous enough to go through the BitGo listing process with us, which effectively means that now DragonX can be listed by thousands of companies easily,
Oh, wow.
because it's already been vetted by BitGo, which is one of the biggest custodians in crypto. Many
Wow.
exchanges use BitGo as their backend custodian. And so now we are one of those assets. And that was a process to get vetted. It took weeks. But ultimately, we are on there now. If you go to BitGo and search for the supported coins, you'll see DragonX there. And that in and of itself is a big step, right? Because it just means that we can basically do more partnerships and integrate more deeply into crypto, especially with institutions, than we could before. So it's moving into that kind of centralized blended world, and that's what's another great thing that they did for us. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to the Geco.One team for doing that for us.
Wow, that is freaking cool, man. Holy smoke. So you got leverage,
Yeah,
you've
it's great.
got access to potentially more exchanges. Oh man,
Hmm.
that's really, really exciting. I think this is the first Titan X token to make it onto an exchange, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Really
It's cool.
cool. So, oh, sorry, if you have something, please go
Yeah,
ahead. I have tons of questions, but
no worries, no worries. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think that this is a great entry point for the Titan X ecosystem into some centralized locations, into some institutions. And I think this is also a great way for Geco.One to expand its user base and to grow, is to reach out to some of these DeFi communities like Titan X, and offer a way to on-ramp and off-ramp, as well as trade the asset, right? And go long or short on that asset. So I think that's it's part of the potential strategy here. And this is obviously just hypothetical, right? We're taking this one step at a time. But what I love about this exchange is their willingness to go into DeFi, to venture into DeFi, to reach new users and expand their own offerings that way. Um, so, it could be that additional coins or ecosystems will be listed there, if we just like if we decide together that that's something that they want to explore. So I think it's just a lot of foresight as well, because so much of crypto is moving on chain now, um, and more of these exchanges are becoming ways for people to get into DeFi. So I think having a foot into that, it makes Geco.One an even stronger exchange, while also bringing users into that centralized world to do trading.
for sure. I mean, and this is kind of
Yeah,
paving the way, for this ecosystem. It's as a whole, you get the foot in the door, and who knows, kind of where this leads DragonX. I mean, this whole Bitco thing. If you can see it on screen here, guys, everyone that's watching. So this is the back end, the Bitco docs that shows all of the supported tokens that are for basically Bitco and approved by Bitco. And if you type in DragonX here, oh, if I could type is a better statement. DragonX is right here. And so what I'm seeing as a really cool potential is this is potentially opening the door for more of the ecosystem tokens, as time goes on, as more maturity happens within the ecosystem. I mean, do you see something like Titan X getting listed on Bitco or other potential tokens, or what roadblocks would you see potentially happening for other tokens, or do you see it being simple and possibly streamlined for others as well?
I think, well, you're going to have to go through that BitGo process. Um, so there will be a vetting process, I imagine. But it's something that I would have to discuss with the Geco.One team to see what assets they feel would help grow their exchange user base and like basically help them reach their goals. But if there is a mutually beneficial goal there, then that is definitely potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously, this is kind of the first step in the partnership. So I couldn't commit to any kind of additional tokens being added, but I certainly like the idea, and I think that it's very savvy for them to consider that, because there are so many users who are just clinging completely to DeFi. And so you bring them in and give them an exchange that they can on-ramp and off-ramp and do trading on is something that will distinguish Geco.One. So just in short, like I couldn't guarantee that, but I think it would be definitely cool. I think it would be awesome to have TitanX on there. I think it's definitely a quality enough asset, right? The asset, it wouldn't be the problem being the quality of the asset. We all know TitanX is well audited. It's been running for now a couple of years. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
That's really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Really exciting time. So
Right,
let's go into, I think, something that everyone really wants to know is, okay, what is Geco.One going to do? So what do you know from Geco.One standpoint, what kind of marketing, how does this get to the eyes of users specifically? Is it something that's listed there and people have to go and manually search up? Is there advertising involved? Like, how does this impact the reach other than just, Geco.One talking about it like they did today on their X, going forward? So that
Well,
way this
yeah,
really pushes this out.
yeah. Well, right now, if you go to the Geco.One website, you'll see DragonX is featured right on the front page.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Geco.One has about 1,000 registered users. They do a lot of weekly volume. Um, they they have like 2,000 daily active users. So they're a decent size exchange, and DragonX is being heavily promoted there. As well as if you go into the exchange, you will see. Maybe I could even send you a picture of this. But if you go into the exchange, you will see that actually DragonX is very prominently featured within the exchange when you first arrive on the exchange. There's only a handful of collateral that that they will accept, that basically Geco.One will accept: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Gecko token, DragonX, and I think Ripple. So USDT. So effectively, DragonX is very prominently shown in the exchange right now. It's visible to every user.
That's really
So that
cool.
is some very solid exposure for DragonX, I would say.
For sure. I try to get into the exchange. It's going to make me register. So if you have a
I'll see
picture,
if
or
I
if
can
you
get
have
you
a
a
way to
picture.
show it, that would be awesome. But I mean, even just coming to the main site and seeing, first thing you see when you come up is this little DragonX emblem here. You've got DragonX down here. I mean, let me tune into chat. Guys, guys and gals, how are you feeling about this? I mean, to me, this is super exciting. I think this is, the start of something really big. Because like Eric was saying, what needs to be in place foundationally for DragonX to get onto Geco.One opens the doors to many other exchanges. And I think that's like one of the most critical pieces here. And obviously, we don't know for sure what's going to happen. You haven't said anything openly about whether you are desiring to do that, whether that's on the table, whether that's even part of the conversation, or even whether it's public information. But that, at least for the people that are looking into DragonX, I think it's just a massive thing to be able to take into consideration of the value of the token over time. So massive shout out to all the
Exactly.
work. I know you put in a lot of work on the back end, getting all this stuff done. A lot of people don't see, no one really sees the amount of work that a founder does off of X and off of stream, but I can attest for how much goes into it. And so kudos to you for putting that effort out and getting this done for the first TitanX ecosystem token. Really, it's awesome, man. This is really exciting.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And just to echo that, it's the first step, right? And just think of all the cool things that we could do. Obviously this is hypothetical, but a lot of really strong utility comes from kind of um, centralized you basically applications, right? A lot of utility comes from that. For example, a wallet or an exchange or a fiat on ramp, or you have a real world asset that's being certified, right? So there are a lot of really interesting use cases that bring a lot of real utility to crypto that do require some kind of interface to the outside world, right? And that interface is something that Geco.One could maybe provide in the future, right? If everything goes well. Obviously, this is just, I'm just shooting the shit here in a sense, like it's a theoretical, but this is what is one really interesting thing about it is now we have kind of a partner. And so now we can help them grow and maybe they can help us grow, right? So it gives DragonX the
That's so
opportunity
true.
to expand into other areas that would have been very difficult to do if we're just coding and throwing up apps on chain, right? So that's, yeah, as you touched on, I think that's one of the most interesting and
Of
potentially
course.
exciting. Yeah, and I mean, I think you guys should give Geco.One a shot. Take a look. You don't need to go 100x here. Like, you can put up a little bit of collateral, and you can do a more conservative strategy, right? You can do I think Bitcoin's going to be here in 3 months, right? So you don't need to. I'm not saying go take your DragonX into 100x collateral trade. I'm saying you can have a blended strategy. You can have a tiny amount going 100x. You could have, for that
Mhm.
upside, or you could just try something a little bit more conservative, just to give it a shot to see. What's really cool about Geco.One is it's no KYC. You go in because it's all crypto based. So it's crypto in, crypto out. And so you just deposit your funds via a wallet, and you trade, and then you
Oh,
can withdraw via wallet. So it makes it really easy for you to use. You can use it like right away. And that's what I really like about it. It's pretty simple, They did a good job on the interface. It's a clean interface, and yeah, it's easy to use. That's important, right?
oh, of
And
course.
it
User
has a
simple interfaces are everything.
yeah, it has that crypto native feel, like it's almost a dApp, and I do like that about the UI.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I mean, even just to get an experience for, if you want to play around with, just getting an idea of, how other people are going to use it and, see the power of it. I think it's an interesting experiment at a minimum to go play around with that. And, man, Maxim hit it on the head, and shout out to you, Maxim, for being here. Thanks, man. Maxim's a legend. So he says as well, I think it speaks well of Eric. Pretty cool for them and DragonX. They're getting exposure too. Win-win. And that's best case scenario when both parties are going to win. And it also simultaneously opens up other doors. So, yeah, dude, this is amazing. So in your eyes,
Mhm.
how do you see this impacting DragonX? If in let's go, like, obviously this is not going to hold you to this in any way, shape, or
Of
form,
course.
but how do you foresee the different levels of implication, over time for how this impacts DragonX? Let's say a month out. What is your anticipation roughly? Let's say 6 months out, and let's say a year and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, this partnership it's for an altcoin, right? We're a pretty small ecosystem. Some people might be interested in it, some people might not be interested in that direct trading. But I think it's the partnership, and it's that institutional support that will be more beneficial long term. So in the short term, I think, yeah, we might see some trading volume. Um, but after that, it's what we can do together potentially that's really interesting. Co-marketing, to bring in new users. Geco.One has 60,000 users. Um, it could be potentially new ecosystems. So if I can act as a spokesperson for DragonX and Geco.One, and go to, say, talk to my buddy Jack Levin over there and say, hey, we want to get X1 on here and be the first guys to support X1 onboarding from fiat, then that's a possibility, right? And then people are going to see DragonX, they're going to see X1. Oh, sorry, they're going to see Geco.One, and we're going to get some kind of co-marketing there, because I'm the founder of DragonX, and I'm bringing something to another community, and that's valuable. That puts eyeballs on us, right? And it helps us expand. So I can use my clout, and I can use my DeFi connections to bring eyeballs on Geco.One and DragonX together effectively. And I think that's one really interesting part of this partnership. But that's a little bit more of a long-term thing. It's not like the Titan ecosystem is going to wholesale adopt Geco.One from day one, right? It's more of a building over time type of situation.
Great. So it's a very it's a very active process of slowly, leveraging your network, building the network, spreading the word, symbiotically, spreading the word of Geco.One and DragonX. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee that, DragonX is going to go and do any sort of anything. But what it does is it, to me, this is really sounding like it opens so many doors that previously were closed, and leverages this new partnership in a way that can have massive marketing effect, and spread DragonX and Geco.One far and wide. Which, I mean, to me, it's like starting an ember. This is like an ember, and now it's what are we going to do with the ember? What are you going to do? What is Geco.One going to do with the ember? And that's what's fun about this, is you don't know. It could be something where, it just catches a few things, helps a little bit, or maybe it catches the right wind on the right day, and it spreads like wildfire. And I mean, I think that's really cool to have that openness where the potential is always there. So do you have any plans immediately to speak with anyone else? Do you have any networking ideas or streams or anything else that you're currently working on that you're willing to share?
Yeah, I have a bunch of streams lined up. The next stream is actually tomorrow in this studio with Rags, and we're gonna
Oh,
go
great.
over one as well as Titan X stuff. So I'm gonna stream with all the Titan X folks to make everyone aware. And then we're going to craft a strategy, kind of a go-to-market strategy for Geco.One to help them, bring in more users and expand from there. And I think that there'll be more opportunities to stream after that, I would say.
Great. Well, Rags is a great place to start. He's got a pretty big audience. He's a great guy. And I think there's going around the ecosystem. I think the more people understand, because it's funny. There's been a lot of people. If you're watching what's happening on chain, there's been a lot of users that have maybe cashed out over the last while, or on the way down. But we're watching. You can see them maybe DCAing back in, and so I think having something like this come out could be, have those users that are sitting on the sidelines to start coming back in again. So, I mean, it's just theory. I have no idea at the end of the day if that's actually going to come true or not. But, there's just all these little tiny details that I think come together here. So, Rags, this week,
Yeah.
do you have any other planned with, did you say you have one planned with Jack already? Or is that one
No, that's
not
just something
quite planned? Or outside of the ecosystem streams, do you have any of those?
I don't have any outside yet planned, but I don't think it would be too hard to line a couple up. It's just a matter of taking it one step at a time, I guess. I want to do all the Titan X guys that I can reach, and then we'll see where we go from there. I would like to, yeah, like I said, I would like to talk to Jack and say, hey, man, let's get X1 listed here, and then we can do on ramp for X1 and be the first team that does X1 on ramp. Who knows? Maybe even the Pulse Chain guys will if there's enough of them that still want to hang out with me, that we could do something here. I know they have some good on ramps at this point, but it could be a potential to have a little bit more institutional adoption. In terms of BitGo listings, I don't think Hex is even on BitGo at this point. Actually, can we check that right now? Because
Yeah.
that's something maybe we can work on, right? And maybe Richard will give us some credit. Who knows? And we can grow the user base even more that way with Geco.One and get some folks from there to recognize that DragonX is working to. It is listed, I guess, huh?
It's listed on both Ethereum and Polygon.
Polygon, interesting. I wouldn't guess that.
I wouldn't have either. I had no idea.
But there's no PX.
Yeah,
Huh.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's a whole.
Yeah.
This is a whole own deep dive of that's. It's interesting why Pulse Chain Hex is not. Maybe it's to do with Pulse Chain more so than it is to do with Pulse Chain Hex. I don't know, but I don't have the answers to that one. Do you have any idea what that might be? Probably because it's newer, I would assume. Maybe new chain.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it could be something that we pursue, like I'm just saying it's hypothetical, but these are the kind of things where if Geco.One is helping lead DeFi communities and give them a bridge, then they can have a lot more users, and Geco.One can get a lot more users, and these users will get new functionality and utility, right? Because Zen community, you have the Titan X community. Zen community is 300,000 plus. Pulse Chain community is 300,000. Titan X is 20,000 plus. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of eyeballs. And I think, as well as Sonic, I'm in a chat with a bunch of the Sonic core devs right now. And I think that will be another ecosystem for Geco.One to kind of plumb users from, because they're very, very active and excited about DeFi. And if you can provide that on ramp, if you can provide some extra functionality to them, then that's interesting. So those are just some of the ecosystems that I might think about going after.
That's fun.
For Geco. Yeah, all theoretical.
Of course. I know, and I've seen this. There's been talk about. I think you're pretty open about Sonic. I know you're actively looking into Sonic, like you just said. And I'd be curious, when it comes to farms, do you have any public plans that include Sonic? I know you talked about Pulse Chain. You were in Cabana a while ago. Do you have any update on that side as well?
Yeah, we're kind of thinking about the best way to approach that, because It looks like for Sonic, we would have to do a full rewrite because they're not really
Hmm.
using core Uniswap stuff. So that gets into a very, very heavy build with, more six-figure audits, more six-figure LP stuff. So that we're kind of just thinking we have to play that right. So it wouldn't be the time to do that just yet. I mean, it really, speaking of the broader market, like things are just starting to turn right now. We've got a long way to go. There's
Hmm.
literally dozens in crypto. Um, and so before we pursue something like that, I think it would make sense for things to be just a lot higher. So Sonic, probably we wait a little bit, but it doesn't mean we couldn't add new pair. We will certainly add new Titan X pairs to farms. It doesn't mean we can't do an Ethereum deployment for farms with more functionality, right? Or into another ecosystem. But it's just a matter of kind of timing that right. Because yeah, it's just it's very expensive to launch farms. Like we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get farms going, and it would be the same thing again on Sonic. So we just need to justify that.
Of course. I mean, these things are
Yeah.
expensive, man. I don't know how many people understand the scope of, just audits alone. Then there's the build cost. I mean, everything that goes, the branding and the website, the dApps, like, I mean, and then if you have something like farms, like adapting it to something like Sonic, which, like you're saying, uses a very different code base than something like V3, everything changes. And it's got to be worth, the juice has to be worth the squeeze, you know, for sure. If you're going to put hundreds of thousands of dollars in, you got to make sure that, like, it's worth it to build something like that, whether it brings back economic energy into the original product, or it reimburses using that product, whether it's just using the Sonic infrastructure or through farms or whatever else it's going to be. There's just so much that goes into it. And I want to highlight Silent King's comments here real quick. He says, well done, Eric. You mustered it beautifully. And this to me is the biggest update within the Titan X system. No one has done it before, and Eric did. So quick
Thank
pause, shout out, and kudos and congratulations to you. This is the first time this has happened within the Titan X ecosystem. I think we need to take a moment as a community to appreciate this, milestone. That's really what it is. It is a huge milestone to be the first Titan X token at all, or in general, to be listed on an exchange. And so it's a massive testament to the work you've been putting in behind the scenes. And even when people have been saying, where's Eric? He's abandoned us. Blah 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 blah. Where's this? What's happening with DragonX? Are we dead? There's always more happening behind the scenes than we ever know. And I mean, just a quick little silent round of applause to you and all the effort that you've put in. So yeah, cheers, man. And it really is an amazing achievement. Seriously. So just want to appreciate that real quick.
Thank you, man. And thanks goes out to the Geco.One team they're being very forward looking, and they give us the opportunity to partner with them. So I think it's a great first step, 100%.
Absolutely. Let me ask, because Yip's got a couple. He's bringing up cool things, and I don't necessarily know. Obviously, it's an opinion of launching on Pulse Chain. DragonX pairs on Pulse would be amazing. But what I am more interested in on what he's bringing up in terms of that previous conversation you had with Cabana and talking about going over to Pulse Chain. Are you okay with talking about where you're at with that? If you're still in line with going to Pulse Chain, or if things have changed at all, and if they've changed, how so? I'd just be curious, because things change all the time, and initiating conversations doesn't necessarily mean the plans change in a way that it's not happening, but timelines might change, specifics might change, details might change, priorities might change in terms of when it comes out. So yeah, any thoughts or any updates on the Pulse Chain line of thinking at this point?
I really wanted to do it. But it's just where Pulse Chain is. They need to recover a little bit. Um, it just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze in a way to do that. Um, so we don't have plans to go back to Pulse Chain with farms, particularly. I wouldn't rule out another build at some point, maybe in the future. But it's just right now, it's not it didn't feel like fertile ground. I really, really wanted to do it. We had the designs finished. I don't know if you saw this, but we actually fully designed the application
Oh wow, I
for
didn't actually see it.
Yeah. So I was very serious about it, but just looking at how things developed, you know, it just, I don't think it would necessarily be worth it. And, um, you can't really use Pulse X because it's V2. But we use V3, these V3 NFTs. So we would have to work with like who's really the second guy there, and do they have significant volume?
Yeah, it'd
And
be
what?
9mm at that point.
Yeah. So it would be awesome if we could work with Richard or someone to put like a farm on there, but like that they would never do that, and that's fine. But like we don't have that big exchange. Like we can tap into so much volume on Uniswap, right?
Mhm.
On Ethereum. So we don't have the ability to do that really on Pulse Chain. There's probably a more interesting application as well that could be built there. Um, that I would probably be more lightweight and more interesting to users. Um, I think that also goes for next builds for DragonX, because I mean, I think you could definitely expand the farms. Like it's certainly not a finished product. There's a lot more here. But you could also build other things, right? Like you could have, I don't know, maybe something privacy related, like, or I'm just putting things out there, but
Mhm.
there are many different applications that are more lightweight than a gigantic farm, which is really complex tech. Um, and one way we can kind of distinguish ourselves from other DeFi apps is to make more institutional plays. You know, um, banking, credit cards, on ramps. Um, this is stuff that a lot of DeFi teams just they can't do it. You know, so that's like a moat for DragonX. Whereas there are many yield platforms, yield optimization platforms out there. They're all competing for the same capital, right?
Mhm.
Um, another example is like real world assets, right? Like what can be done there that 99% of teams wouldn't do. And I think that's also interesting. So maybe the play is to just continue to make DragonX a more established, institutionalized cryptocurrency that people accept, rather than another DeFi app, which is highly competitive, especially in this market, where everything's so depressed. It's going to be a long way until I think users are flooding back into some of these apps. So it's all things to consider.
For sure, for sure. The one thing I'm appreciating is that the way you're laying everything out shows me you're really considering as many aspects and prospects of what it would take in the future, the pros and cons. It's like, to me, it sounds like you're doing a lot of research. You're doing a lot of critical thinking. You're really putting a lot of intention into this and being quite thoughtful, which I think is fantastic. And just for the viewers, I want them to see that as well, because when you're looking at the value of a token, or an ecosystem, the one thing that really provides value, obviously, is the way it's built, what it is, and its utility, if it has any utility. But the secondary aspect of it comes down to the narrative and the memetics, but then also the founder and the effort the founder is showing in, and are showing that they're putting in, to the token. I mean, that's a huge thing, because whether you want to ignore the founder or not, I think people really look to what's this person about, who are they, and what are they doing. And I think, to me, that's a testament to the user base of DragonX, of seeing your effort, seeing what you're looking into. Obviously there is never expectations of future work, but it is important to understand, okay, this is something to look to, is like, this is a pattern, right? And if this might continue into the future, and it's a great pattern that many founders have not been able to accomplish quite yet, even if they've tried to execute on it. So it's an amazing feat, really. And whether you go to Pulse Chain, whether you go to Sonic, I think that the way you're approaching, building out DragonX and infrastructure, and approaching marketing, and approaching expansion in general, will ultimately bring some really cool results. So I'm really excited to see that. And on that note, I really want to just chime into the chat real quick, guys. If you have any questions for Eric specifically on Geco.One or on DragonX, even Macro, TitanX, I would love to get your comments. If we don't get to them right away, I'll star them and make sure we get to them before the end of the stream. And also, while I'm on the topic of Macro, I'd love to hear your perspective on, what you're thinking about where we are, what you might be looking to keep track of in the short term to see kind of where we are in the cycle, and then what your overarching thoughts are for, maybe the longer term, this just the rest of this cycle, kind of what your outlook is and what you're willing to share in general.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this a lot in DMs as well. Like there's so
Mhm.
many different things, right? Um, I would say one that is interesting is the social metrics, just because if you're looking at like what is the sentiment right now among users and how active are people, I think the social metrics like cut through. So YouTube views, particularly YouTube views on the major channels, crypto channels, is interesting. And you can see still how depressed we are. At least notably, we are increasing the amount of views over time. Like the last few weeks have seen an upswing. So that's a good sign. So I think that that's an important one to look at because, you know, I don't know, I mean, like TVL, just seeing some TVL in an app, some of these volume numbers can be like faked or spoofed a lot with wash trading. And I think if you look at the social metrics, you kind of cut through and actually see how many people are actually engaged. I also look
Mhm.
at my own account and I can see that I'm starting to gain followers again. Uh, I'm getting more views, I'm getting more interactions. And I think looking at those interactions just on my own account has helps me understand where we are.
Mhm.
Um, Another one is obviously community sentiment, which is very predictive of a bottom. Like I think we've seen it in Titan X, total capitulation, people, kind of crushing their own reputations and stuff, thinking everything's over. Um, and that's actually, unfortunately, a sign of things, probably reaching their bottom. I think that's
Mhm.
probably, Titan X popped so much with Ethereum is the sellers were just exhausted, right? Like the people within Titan X, so many had completely capitulated, um, and wrongly so because Ethereum was clearly massively oversold. Talking about Ethereum, I mean, I think I may have talked about this the other day, is if you look at when BlackRock started to put assets on chain, it was $1 billion a month starting in March, and they haven't stopped putting treasuries on chain onto Ethereum. Just looking at that and seeing how retail had completely given up on Ethereum at the same time is just very telling as to what was going to come next. We were both looking at that Ethereum chart and seeing the RSI down at like, bear market levels. Um, and it was just a sign that Ethereum was totally oversold, and Titan X was just following that. It wasn't doing anything particularly out of the ordinary for an alt that is so heavily tied to Ethereum. And I tried to communicate this to the community via tweets. Like, hey guys, you know, the buy and burn is not what's causing Ethereum to go to like 1700, or what did it go to? 1500 at the lowest.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super low, right? So that's not something that is like Jake's fault or my fault or anything related to things happening within Titan X. And I really tried to hammer that home. People need to kind of pay attention to the fact that like when you're in a risk asset and things go down on the chain that it's bonded with, you're going to go way down, and that's
Mhm.
not really something you can control. Ethereum put in a legendary bottom there at 1500. Meanwhile, institutions were scooping it up while retail completely capitulated. And lo and behold, this Pectra upgrade, like, do you have the burn stats now for the Pectra upgrade? I was surprised at some of the charts I saw, but it
Where
looks,
I haven't looked at them since. I have to get the. I have to find out which dashboard it is. I had it. I might be my bookmark somewhere, but I can't remember which site it was for. And Glassnode, I have a subscription there, and Glassnode doesn't show the burning. I think at this point. So I would love to see it though. I think I have gotten a whiff of it from somewhere, but I can't remember exactly what site it was. Um,
yeah. But yeah, the ultrasound money site, I mean, the chart was up for a while, I guess, because people were posting it, but I don't see it now. I think they're doing some kind of Pectra upgrade fix. But if those charts are correct, I mean, Ethereum is getting burned pretty heavily right now, again, which is
let
super
me see if I can
bullish, right?
find it. Let me see
It
here.
was starting to inflate, and people were they were giving up because they thought that there weren't enough fees on the main chain, and Ethereum was hyperinflating again, and that was one of their bearish scenarios. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I guess we saw. Looks like you have a breakout here. Yeah, we just saw that breakdown in community sentiment following the Ethereum collapse, which was quite obvious. Um, And I guess if you're in Titan X, like you have to look now to see what protocols survived that, right? What protocols are bouncing back, what protocols have volume and are still here. And then you can see, okay, well, maybe this is something that I want to be a part of.
Exactly. That's a huge tell right now, is to look at, what still survived, what still has liquidity, what still has volume. And I do want to highlight something you said as well, which is with the chart. I mean, I'm hoping everyone in the community is starting to get this. We've talked about it, but I think there's a lot of people that don't quite understand it. The USD chart is only like your realizable value chart, but it's not actually telling you what's happening and why it's happening. If you want to see exactly why Titan X is doing what it is, you need to come to the wrapped ETH ratio chart, which is on Deck Screener here. You click the USD/wrapped ETH. Once it's highlighted in the wrapped ETH side of things, you're going to see that this is the real chart. And even though in USD, the chart looks like it went to all-time lows, in wrapped ETH terms, we actually are still a significant ways from all-time lows. We're like 40, well, basically over a 50% drop, or about a 50% drop from all-time lows. So this is important because this range here, since the end of February, we were essentially trending sideways. But yet, if we go look at this on the USD chart from the end of February, we were plummeting. So this tells us that Titan X was doing fine. People were not doing anything. They weren't selling. It wasn't a mass capitulation. We stopped capitulating at the end of February, but because ETH was doing what it's doing, it dragged us down. And so for everyone watching, it's like, make sure when you're finding your own sentiment being catastrophic, and you're feeling like, oh God, this is it, just double check things. Look at the wrapped ETH chart. Is it really a Titan X thing? Are people really capitulating at Titan X, or is this an ETH thing? Because these two charts tell a very, very, very different story. And if you're only looking at the USD chart, you're really going to cause a lot of duress for yourself emotionally that might be unintended. So just wanted to put that out there as well. And I looked at the Ultrasound Money site. It's still doing the supply data currently unavailable. I think they're updating it for the Petra hard fork. Do you have another site that we could bring that up? But if not, no problem. But also, go ahead.
Circulating on social media, but I'm not sure where they're coming from. But it would be really good to have that. Can you actually go back to the February capitulation there? Can you go back to the Ethereum?
Sure. Yeah. Where are we here?
That's interesting. I hadn't looked at this, but
yeah. So it was interesting. So I'll show you guys, and maybe we'll do a little bit of a. I don't normally do this, but I'll maybe pull up a certain Glassnode stat and show you what I was looking at, because there was a tweet that I put out. I think it was end of or beginning of. I have to find the exact date it was, but I basically said now's a good time to buy ETH and Titan X, and I want to show you guys why. Because if we look at a specific chart here that I will find, where's my favorites here? So can you guys see this? Can you see this real quick? Just double check. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of alpha on this stream. We'll talk about this. This is one of my favorite indicators. I tweeted around April 12th. It's a good time to buy ETH. And this is why. Because I was looking at this indicator here, which has been pretty exceptional at showing bottoms and tops. And it's called the MVRV ratio. It's usually behind a paywall for Ethereum. So you usually have to pay for it. But man, if you were looking at this, so April 12th, let's go to the USD chart. So April 12th was right here. Boom. Right, and April 12th was right here. Look where we are now.
You're still sharing glass.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Sorry. Thank you. So April 12th was right around here. I think I tweeted a little after, so it would have been probably around here. This is the middle of April.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And then look over here. Boom. So this is why it's really, as you were highlighting, and I want to like amplify what you were highlighting, is it's really important to understand what the underlying asset is doing that TitanX is built on. If you're just looking at TitanX, man, you're going to get the wrong picture. You're really going to get the wrong picture. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Do you have any more thoughts on Ethereum TitanX relationship and everything we've kind of laid out there?
No, I think that's amazingly good analysis. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I would say that it will be interesting to see how many active users, if you were to divide the Ethereum buy and burns that are basically like that are one of the reasons that why the back to the ecosystem, like one of the reasons why the ecosystem has value is all of these Ethereum buy and burns and DragonX buy and burns. If you were to see how much of that is divided by the currently active users, I'd be very interested because it's probably gotten a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
So many users have capitulated, you know. It kind of reminds me of Pulse Chain where the number of people that have left and the capacity for Richard to pump Pulse Chain assets has just increased, right? So when he goes to all-time highs again in Ethereum, he's going to be able to pump those things even easier. And TitanX is in the same position. It actually has a comparable amount of ETH per user, believe it or not, although the scale is much different because assets are just so much more widely adopted. They're some of the most popular assets in crypto, actually. They're top 50 assets. I think PulseX is top 60 in terms of holders. And TitanX is basically a microcap. It's a 20 million market cap token. So the upside is actually really, really good in Titanx. It's really difficult to see that now because of how beaten down it's become. But when you recognize that there's a lot of founders still here working and new protocols are being launched like Taurus, it's like there's a lot of potential here. I still believe that.
Mm-hmm. Well, 100%. Oh man, I love when you have a fantastic question and then your line of thought just all of a sudden just dissipates immediately. So, is there a place, or I guess the only place we could see how much DragonX has been burned? Guess we could go to the DragonX website here.
DragonX.Win, yeah.
Which, by the way, I love the new site. I love the dragon on there. It's so cool.
Yeah, I believe
that
we know this designer, right?
I believe we do.
We both designer a lot. He's a great guy. He does really fantastic work. And yeah, if you go to stats, you'll see the amount of DragonX that's been burned is 26.74. That might be a bit off now, actually. I have to double check on whether the APIs are updating there. I think they are now. But yeah, so you basically 30% of the supply is gone, right? Market yet. So it's in a very good position. It's in a position. I think when we get a couple great protocols like Taurus launching, if Jake finally gets out of the sauna and joins us building stuff, then yeah, we'll have another app. And then DragonX can not only from the partnerships and efforts that the DragonX team is putting in, but also that of the other members of the community.
You know what? He's probably doing his muscle ups. He's probably binge reading reality transurfing.
Yeah.
And he's probably nonstop coding. Like that's probably what he's doing, chewing his nicotine patches and just waiting. You know, to me, it's funny. It'd be fantastic to have him back publicly, but also there's a large part of me that really is like, okay, there's no way this dude who's literally like training himself for war, and he's been training himself for war for years now, essentially, is just going to be like, yeah, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, you can't tell me that that's a reasonable expectation of someone with the testosterone level of Jake.
Yeah, the thing is, like, all right, it'd be one thing if we didn't have like $15 million of buy and burn to kickstart everything and send everything to all-time high. It'd be something if we were like really completely crashed out. But we're really not crashed out. Like, there's a lot happening. I know of multiple projects that are about to launch. I know, we have all this buy and burn. We have institutional support now. So it's not like a walk away situation yet. And that's what I've tried to also, impart on people is like, let's see what we can do here. The bull market hasn't even started yet. We launched so early. You know, we launched with an assumption, I think, that the bull market was going to like end, you know, last fall.
Mhm.
That was kind of the assumption. But it turns out it's looking like an elongated cycle, you know? Things are elongating because there's more liquidity in the market. This is a great point that Benjamin Cohen made. There's more liquidity in the market now, so it takes longer for the capitulation to happen because people need to sell down for long those capitulative lows, and they have to move more capital out. And moving that capital out takes time, right? And the more people came in, so many people came in 2021 that there is so much capital still in crypto. And that's a long process of bleeding. And the more people that are in, the longer that bleeding process is.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think fighting the last war and thinking that I get a surprising number of people that tell me that sincerely believe that the bear market is here. Excuse me, not the bull market, that the bear market is here. And that couldn't be further from the truth. We're actually finishing the longest bear market in history. And now we're seeing green shoots finally.
Mhm.
The last few
Mhm.
weeks, green shoots and institutions their bags are packed, right? So just important to remember.
For sure. Well, if you're looking at like what the Fed's doing, if you're looking at like CPI data, if you're looking at even miner data, and then you're looking at all the other indicators that are out there for both Ethereum and BTC, there's a pretty stark indication that what you said is accurate. Like the party hasn't started yet. Like this is, and the liquidity point's actually a great one because it's true. And it would also possibly imply that, larger liquidity means longer for its selling and also possibly longer for, more funds to need to come in to really push us up, meaning it could take longer for us to get to our overbought position with the amount of inflation that's out there. And I don't know for sure if that last part that I said is 100% accurate, but it's where my mind goes is like a wonder. And on the topic of liquidity too, I did finally remember what I was going to say with to your last comment about the SAC funds for Richard Hart and the TitanX $15 million in the ecosystem in ETH. I did a post a while back, and it actually compared the treasury of the Pulse Chain ecosystem to the treasury of the TitanX ecosystem relative to liquidity. And what was interesting was if you actually compare the impact, now this is the crazy thing. If you actually compare the impact based on liquidity of what each ecosystem does, I'm pretty sure TitanX was on par or better than its ratio of reserved funds to liquidity and its potential impact on price. So, I mean, it's a really interesting situation where, like you were alluding to, we have an incredible treasury just sitting there that makes us a very unique ecosystem, regardless if Jake is currently around or not, right?
Yeah.
It's a really, really unique space that we're in, and it's powerful. Like this is the thing that we haven't really gotten out in the open so much is like there are hidden ratios that imply crazy things about this ecosystem with the amount of ETH that's in the ecosystem as well. So that's bullish long term, especially when you can compare to something like Pulse Chain.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there are all these flywheels on TitanX now, right? So when things turn around, you can see just all of those flywheels just compounding back and burning even more TitanX. And people kind of forget, I think, that TitanX is a small cap, but it really is. And the more utility we build on top of it, the more and more compelling it becomes that it can do very well this cycle. I really think that. But we need to see that utility. We need to see people coming back. Yeah, just another point kind of on this idea that it was kind of all over, if you look at when were we pumping originally? Like it was last summer. It was like I'm just looking August, right? August 2024.
Yep.
If you look at the Rolex watch prices on watchcharts.com and you go to indexes, you'll see the 2022, all the liquidity coming in on the prices of a Rolex. That's what the end of a bull market looks like. And then if you look at, you want me to send you a link? Maybe you can.
I think I've got it here. Let me just make sure it's max. Show this tab. Is this the right one? I think this is the right one.
Here you go. Yeah, so like people they need to recognize the scale of what happened in 2024 was very small. It didn't register in any other assets. It was really a Titan X, Dragon X, and a few altcoins phenomenon that happened during that time. Um, and it's not really the massive multi-year shift where money comes in and is cheap and it moves over to luxury goods and risk assets. Like that didn't actually really happen. And it was kind of it was a false bull market start. It was a false start. And it was and it's not a bear so we were not in the bear market. We never actually entered. When these prices have peaked, we're probably in the bear market again, right? We need to see
Mhm.
enough. We need to see the cheap money come in. I mean, global liquidity is increasing now, right? So eventually that rotation will happen, but it's just kind of kicking off. So I think people really misunderstood the scale there, and that's why I was mentioning that so many users were they're saying many people I talk to say, oh, it's over, right? The bear market is here, or they think the bear market's going to peak in a few months, or the bull market will suddenly turn around and peak in the next few months. But if you look at this, I just don't see that happening, you know?
Mhm.
Like these prices should at least be on the rise before you can call a bear market, right? They're still going down.
Well, exactly. Well, this indicates clearly that liquidity is leaving the market or assets and going to something like a watch, which means, you're obviously going to see that, like you're saying, that inverse relationship where this means prices are going down somewhere else because people are taking profits. And the first top in 2021 was in April, right around here. And then the second top was in November, right here. But then we still saw prices increasing afterwards. So, I mean, thanks for sharing this. This is a really cool chart, and I think, if you're watching this as user, wait, is my audio still good? By the way,
Yep.
okay, good. I just got a notification that something was weird. If you're watching this, God, this is the kind of stuff you want to be looking at, and this is why having the right connections, you know, having the right network is incredibly important, so that way you can understand what to watch from people who have done this before, who have experience, or who at least know how to leverage their networks, their tools at their disposal. And I don't know if you want to, but I know you have the guild, and I don't know if you'd like to speak a little bit on that. But I have a link in the comment or in the description for the YouTube. If you guys are interested, at the end of this, just send Eric a message saying CGFX sent you, or sent me, or cryptographics. But tell us a little bit about it, because I've spent some time, and I think the group is fantastic. It's building. Well, it's a lot of people in there now, but a lot of high value people, a lot of people that really know what they're talking about, and have a really valuable insights. And so I think there's a lot of value. I mean, there's a lot of people that might say paid groups are a scam or a grift, and I would kind of just leave them to their own opinions. And what my experience has been completely different. I've learned more from being in groups. I've found more value, and I've just had a much better experience surrounding myself with the right people in this space versus not, and trying to do it on my own, because this is such a hard game to play, and it takes so long, and there's so many lessons that are really difficult to learn, and it's hard to actually learn them, even if the opportunity presents themselves to actually learn them. So I would highly recommend everyone consider, maybe it's the guild, maybe it's not, but I know Eric's got a great one, and I would, yeah, floor's all yours if you want to talk about it a little bit. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit more public with that next week, or maybe even the week after, once we get through all the Geco.One announcements. But yeah, I am running a small group, a network of people. Cryptographics is in there, and that I think it's extremely valuable. DragonX wouldn't exist if I never joined Jake's mastermind, right?
Mhm.
Build on Titan X would not have existed, actually, because all the original builders were in that group. And I've derived enormous benefit over the years from buying the golf club membership, as you would say, right? Putting up a bit of a cost to reach people who have vast experience and connections. It's absolutely worth it. It's something that the most successful people do repeatedly. I'm in multiple private kind of networks and groups, and guess what? I see a lot of the same faces in all of them because they recognize that collecting opportunities is an incredibly important part of success. Um, and so it's not for everybody. It's capped, it's small. You're inside. There's a lot of Titan X founders inside. We do deep research. We get into the weeds. We have so much experience combined, and that's something that a lot of people don't appreciate. But the chances of you, especially if it's your first cycle getting this right, are pretty low if you're alone. It's just a reality. And man, I mean, if I had someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you should sell your hex when at 50 cents, or you should sell your hex at 20 cents," I'd have tens of millions of dollars, right? So um, that would have made all the difference. And that's why groups like that are important. I consider it to be more than just a crypto group as well. I want it to be a wealth group, a wealth acceleration group, and there's a lot happening behind the scenes that's not exactly crypto related, as you know.
Mhm.
Other companies are being developed, and it's something I love having people around me who support me and what I do, and I'm more than happy and excited to help them on their journey, right? So that's kind of the goal behind that group. It's a really fun group. It's really fun. I'm looking forward to getting more people inside, but at some point I'll cap it off because these things are never good when there's too many people. But yeah, I mean, for those of you that watched this far, feel free to ask me about it. I'll be going live with it in the next few weeks. We're just super busy right now with Geco.One stuff, and then we'll talk about that more. But I appreciate you bringing it up, man. Thank you.
Of course, when I see value in something, I think it's worth putting out there for other people that also are, looking for more value and looking for the right place to be, because it really has made a difference to be in groups. I had my own group that I'm now shutting down, but that was valuable. And then, seeing your group is like, there's a lot of value here as well. And man, it's I think it's just important for people to have that option on the table. I don't care if you take advantage of it or not, or if you think it's for you or not, but for some people, they're going to find it very, very, very valuable, especially like you said, for those people who just like having that tap on the shoulder at the right time. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. So
100%.
yeah. And I know we're up at the hour mark here. If you're cool with it, do you have anything else you want to throw out? Like, where can people reach you on X or on Telegram if they want to get in contact with you about either the guild, or they want to just, I don't know, find out more and follow you?
So yeah, follow me on X G1 Eric. Um, I'm going to be posting a lot about the Geco.One partnership coming up. Check out Geco.One if you're interested in Geco.One, and if you want to try using a little bit of DragonX there for collateral and trading. They accept other collateral types. Super easy, no KYC, in and out via wallets. Great interface. So check out Geco.One. I just posted a post about the Geco.One partnership, so have a look there. It's going to be, I think, a great partnership for DragonX. And yeah, I think that's it, man. I'd love to talk about kind of Taurus stuff as well if you have a bit of time.
Sure. Yeah. I got a little bit of time, so that's no problem then. But yeah, I'm very happy to have you on. If you guys are interested, please go make sure you're following Eric on X. Make sure you're following DragonX, and make sure you're also either following or paying attention to the whole Geco.One situation as well. I do have some of the links in the description if you're watching on Cryptographics YouTube. If it's on X, it's obviously a little harder to get links there. So just either go to the YouTube link to find all that, or you can look up G1 Eric on X as well. But yeah, if we could definitely talk about Taurus. Where do we even start with that? I mean, things are looking quite good. We got a first audit report back today. Oh, sorry.
How is the testnet going?
Testnet's going very well.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's going very well. Very, very, very well. I think there's a couple things we got to fix on UI wise that are coming up, and a couple little things that I noticed recently. But so far, things are fantastic. It's been going very, very smooth. Got our first audit report back today, so we're looking to dive into that and get the changes that need to be made ready for that. Hoping to find out about the second audit report soon, and yeah, we're looking good. I mean, I'm really excited for the future. I mean, you know how it is when your baby's about to go out in the open. I mean, it's nerve-wracking, it's stressful, it's exciting, it's like it's consuming, it's everything. So I'm just really excited for it.
What have you learned via through testnet? Any interesting discoveries in the game theory or mechanics? Any valid or just validations of your thinking?
So far, it's a lot more validations, but I have been noticing just the more I've been seeing it, the more I've been thinking about, okay, how can you play this? How can you use the system to DCA and like, accumulate over time? There are some interesting methods that people can deploy to, not necessarily put all their eggs in one basket. And there's obviously risks to, doing strategies in general, other than just playing the system as it was designed. But it's cool to see that people can actually, DCA in by catching dips to still get into the system. And, when they don't necessarily go into the creation side 100% over here, they can make up their bag over here if the prices really dip and still get in the system, have leverage on acquiring more. But most things have been going actually exactly as they were designed, which I'm really, really, really happy about. And the one thing that, again, people haven't really caught on to yet is just how expensive staking is going to get in the future and how big of an impact that's going to have on both the buy and burn for Taurus and Taurus itself, as well as for TitanX. Because every time people are coming around staking and creating, that's burning TitanX immediately upon the staking or the creation. So this is a fun thing that people haven't really been understanding, is that instead of it being like a buy and burn thing where at some point all those funds are going to make it into buying and burning TitanX, it's no. It's immediately. Yeah, as soon as someone does a transaction, let's say you put in $1,000, $43 goes to buy and burn TitanX immediately. If it's from ETH, if it's in TitanX, it just goes to burn. So everything's been going fantastic. I'm really happy with it. Everyone else that has been playing with it has had nothing but good things to say. And like I said, there's a couple things that we're going to fix that have come up in the last day or so, but I believe they're small and just informational things. So yeah, things are looking fantastic, man. And I just can't wait to have this thing out in the open.
Your timing is super good. I really think your timing is excellent. Like, this could be the project that actually brings us back into big growth for TitanX, because now Ethereum, we have the tailwinds with Ethereum. If Ethereum keeps going up and this is pumping TitanX even more, you're going to see a lot of users come back, and it's just going to elevate the entire ecosystem. And it's going to be really interesting to see, man. I'm very excited for it.
Thank you. I'm hoping it can, if it's not the spark, it can be one of these sparks. But, and it's funny, I can't really take credit for, timing things as impeccably as it may look like I am. This has all been by just the way things have been going, which is, I'm fortunate enough to say that it's working out this way. But I'm thankful for it nonetheless, because yeah, I couldn't have asked for better timing. And
so it's just once that second audit comes through clean, you're going for it, or you're gonna
once the audits come back, we clean things up. The Telegram has to be at 1,000 members. That's the thing. I'm not launching this thing into the abyss where no one's watching. We need 1,000 members in the TG. So if you're watching this and you are interested in Taurus, make sure you go to t.me, and I'll put this in the chat as well, t.me/TaurusWin. And we need 1,000 members. Once there's 1,000 members, the UI is complete and the audits come back. They're clean. We're done. Everything's polished and good to go. Then we have the green light to launch at any time. But those three factors, the UI is almost done. We're getting our audits back, and we really need, and I think we're at about 60% of the way there. I think we're almost at 600 members in the Telegram. So if you're not already, go in and join. And I don't honestly care if you go in and then mute the notifications. That's fine. But going in there and just supporting and just having another number added into the Telegram is huge. And if you're already in there, invite one or two people. If everyone invites one or two people that are already in the Telegram, we blow past this 1,000 member total like nothing. So those are the big three.
588. Oh, you're growing quite fast, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's growing quite quick. And I mean, I've done a few streams, but really word has not really gotten out yet. I mean, we have 632 people watching right now across all. So if all 632 people are joined and invite one other person, we're done. It's that simple, right? So I don't think it's going to take long. And I don't know if any of you guys are into numerology, but I just posted that at 11:11. I believe that's a sign.
It's good too, because
I think it's a sign of good things to come.
Dedicated people, the people that are around right now. And so you're getting a chat full of those people that are seriously dedicated to TitanX and to new protocols. At this stage, that's a good user base to start your project with for sure.
Oh, dude, 100%. And I think something for those that are in that category that are watching right now, people are slightly aware that Unity is coming as well, which Unity is going to be built on PulseX and will come sometime after Taurus launches. But here's the thing for those of you that are watching, you might think, oh, well, it's on Pulse Chain. Maybe I'll wait over there. I wouldn't try to overthink things too much, because here's the thing. If Taurus does this job and it really helps the users win, people that are watching Taurus, that are watching the sideline, might think, oh, I'm going to wait and I'm going to go over on Pulse Chain. Well, if there's a lot of users that are seeing the success of Taurus and how it's impacting TitanX, everyone might be thinking the same thing. And the gains and the possibility for reward for users getting in Taurus might be far higher than what people might see over in the Pulse Chain side, because everyone's thinking the same thing. So, play your cards carefully here. Really think through the opportunity cost of, Taurus versus Unity and how you want to play your cards. But nonetheless, I'm really appreciative of everyone that's here so far, because, there's been a lot of support, a lot of excitement building. And I see people genuinely getting excited for Taurus, which makes me even more excited and feel the need to really make sure this thing is absolutely perfect. Like there's no room for error in this. And I know that. I'm public. I don't want, on a personal note, it's like a lot would fall back on me quite quickly, if something went wrong. So I have personal incentive to make sure that our personal deterrent for making sure anything goes wrong. And also too, it's like, I just want my reputation to be that, this is something special and people can rely on it. And it's great. And people really did get something valuable out of it. So you know how it is too. So there's a lot at stake when you found something.
Yeah, for sure. But I think you're taking all necessary precautions. So, and things do happen, man. Like even good founders have slip ups, but I doubt that's going to happen to you from all the precautions you're taking. And I think it's really smart to wait for this 1,000 users. You're going to hit it, and you're going to have so many diehard users. It's going to be fantastic for you.
I hope so. One of the things I'm really excited is you can see, with DragonX, you can see with all other ecosystems, like you look over to the Pulse Chain ecosystem, obviously you've got like the Richard Hart side of things, but even like PTGC and all sorts of other coins that have really fostered a dedicated community. TitanX, obviously, you have your champions, you have your people that are like diehard. They go to bat whether things are or not happening. They just love it. They're like spokespeople, they're ambassadors. And I'm really curious and hopeful that might happen for Taurus, because that's one of the coolest things to see is when people are, getting excited about something you built. And now watching what's happened with TitanX and DragonX, I can see for you and for Jake, it's like, that must've been a really cool experience to see people coming up and be like, this thing is it. Like they'll just going out of their way. They're talking about it. They're going on public forums. They're talking about it on X. And I'm looking forward to seeing that hopefully for Taurus as well, which I'm optimistic for, but obviously we'll see what happens.
I think so. Yeah. Dude, it is really cool. It's really, really cool to have people who stand behind you and support you, man. And there's going to be a lot of those people for you, I'm sure. And the market timing is playing in very well. Like you don't want to have a protocol that launches with 100,000 users as a starting point,
Mm-hmm.
Great that you're going to have this small group of people, and those people will become your cheerleaders as the bull market just takes off. So yeah, it's really well positioned, man. I'm excited for it. You're definitely going to get people who are diehard Taurus for sure, and I'm sure the DragonX will become their piggy bank, which is fun.
Totally.
But
It's what goes around comes around. Opportunities come up, they go. It's you know how it is. So, but I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I really do. So, on that note, though, unless you have anything specific you wanted to talk about Taurus related, or if anyone else has any questions in chat, I've got nothing else there that's coming to mind. Katagatame, thanks for being here, bro. And it's coming. TitanX will have its day in the sun. Absolutely. So will the whole ecosystem. I'll just bring up a couple more comments. Just again, congratulating you, Eric. Keto Natural, well done. And what else do I got here? Yeah, brilliant news, good work. And I think I brought this up, but why not one more time? Eric is smart. I think so too. So on that note, thanks, man. This has been always a pleasure to come on stream with you. Chat, thank you guys for hanging out, and everyone in the comments for coming to hang out with us today. It's been a very cool stream. Very excited to see what happens for the future of DragonX with Geco.One, where that leads for the rest of the ecosystem, how that expands out into other opportunities and building blocks for DragonX and the TitanX ecosystem. And so yeah, thanks again for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure to stream with you as always. And I look forward to the next one.
Likewise. See you, man.
Awesome, guys. Okay, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you are, and go ahead, click the subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed to also Eric's channel as well. Make sure you're following myself. Make sure you're following Taurus.Win, Unity.Win, DragonX. It's all in the comments in the description, or in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to shut her down here. Enjoy your weekends. Expect a lot more streams coming up the next while. I have another stream tonight with Vibra Finance. I also have another stream tomorrow with Superman Crypto. And both these streams are going to be going over the Unity and Taurus protocols. And so there's so much to be excited for. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and also have a great weekend. Cheers, and we'll see you guys in the next one.